Works for me.
Everybody ready? Everybody looks great.
Almost. I'm
Yeah. Thanks for having me, by the way.
of
Thrilled.
course. Thanks for agreeing to do it. I mean,
It's
Thank you
funny
for
when you text me,
creating
I
it.
was in an escape room.
What?
have
I
your
remember.
phone in an escape room.
We were Googling stuff, we were doing everything. Yeah, they told us to put them in the bucket, but we didn't want to do that.
Hey. Hey y'all, welcome back. It's episode 6 of Native LA's ING in LA, where we discuss doing all things in and around the LA area. Make sure you're following and subscribed on all socials at The Native LA and Native Collective. With me today is our boy Tony, as always.
How you doing? I'm Tony from Compton.
And I'm Eve from Inglewood. Today we also have a very special guest with us for our episode Living in LA, Mr. Rich Nickelberry, a Los Angeles realtor and my good friend. How you doing, Rich?
I'm well. Thanks for the invite. How's it going, Tony?
What up, Rich?
Hey, I'm great. Living this LA dream,
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So tell us a little bit about your day-to-day as a realtor here in Los Angeles.
Day to day. So it starts off usually with a morning meeting. My office is here in Westchester, right near LAX. We have like a 9 a.m. kind of huddle accountability. Just talk to each other about what we've been seeing in the marketplace. Some we celebrate our wins. We have little bells that we ding, so everyone knows good positive things are happening. So keep the positive vibes going. And then depending on what you have going on, appointments or maybe some prospecting, following up with leads and people you've met over the weekend at an open house. We kind of do our kind of prospecting time from 10 to 12, and then we kind of step out and go do our appointments and just the rest of the realtor life. It can be a lot, it can be a little, depending on your day. You prefer it to be a lot, but yeah, starts usually around 9 a.m. and probably done around 4:35, depending on showings. And most clients don't get off until about 5:30 sometime, so you might be showing homes till 6 p.m. So yeah, that's the average day. That's the average day.
And give us a little bit of your background. Where are you from? How did you get into real estate?
Born and raised in Los Angeles, in the View Park, Windsor Hills neighborhood, Westchester High School, class of '02, good old Comets, and you can't throw a rock without hitting a comet in Los Angeles. Um, Joined the military a little bit after college. Did that for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Came back home to be a little bit closer to family and to accomplish some more goals outside of the military. Just work on myself. And I kind of always had this thing in my head. I tweeted to myself in 2012, I'm going to get my real estate license one day. And it took me almost 10 years to do it, but I did it. The military gets kind of tough and you don't have time to do a lot of extracurriculars, especially with a kid and deployments and all that good stuff. So got my license in 2020, and it's been kind of full speed ahead ever since, working in the residential space, mostly on the west side, a little bit in Long Beach. But yeah, the majority of my work comes from home, Ladera Heights, Windsor Hills, Baldwin Hills, Lamar Park, specifically. Yeah.
So you've been doing
What
this for about
what
3
branch were
years?
you in? Oh, my bad. What branch did you serve in?
I was in the Air Force.
Thank you for your service.
Oh yeah, no problem. Thank you.
So you've only been doing this for about 3 years. I feel like the vibe that I've gotten, because you helped me find my place, I feel like you've been doing this forever.
It can feel like that. Uh, no, we just like I'm on a great team here. We get a lot of experience, a lot of conversations. My mentor has been doing it, 3 times as long as myself. So we have a wealth of knowledge here. So I can kind of get accelerated, right? So I knew coming into this, I was a little bit behind. I was in my mid 30s. So starting something new was kind of like, what are you doing? Once getting out of the military. So I had to catch up. And one of those ways to catch up was to surround myself with a lot of people that knew a whole lot more than me. So I can speak and have those conversations intelligently, even though I've kind of only been doing it for a few years. My background in real estate, I bought a house in 2007. I sold it in 2008 when things were going crazy. Like I said, in 2012, I was looking at getting my real estate license, just didn't have time. So it's kind of always been in the back seat a little bit, but I've always paid attention to the market based on like where my family grew up. Wherever I was living at the time, I always kind of understood the market. And once I got the opportunity to actually take that leap and sit down and study and take the test, that's when I decided to actually get my license. Yeah.
So, what right now is the average cost of owning a home versus, like, let's say the average cost of renting? Because I know there's a lot of debate right now about owning versus renting, and it's pretty split down the middle.
It is. It is, especially where we live, right? This is this is a very, very specific price point we're in. So the median sales price average right around 850 ish. I want to say in LA County, but you have to account for Malibu and Palisades and all these higher priced homes. Encino is like a mini Beverly Hills now, um, down to some of the single family, the brand new 2 bedroom 1 bath homes that can Inglewood right now, 750 ish. So
Mm-hmm.
it kind of depends on where you're at, where you want to be is going to depend on your price point. Whereas rental, we go by what the AMI is. So the average median income in Los Angeles is around 98,000. So and that's a household, 2 people, 98 divided by 2. Right. No, I totally understand that, and I get it all the time. Most people aren't making 98 by themselves, right? So
Yeah.
that's why we have this disparity with the affordable housing and things like that. But the average right now for a rental, like a 2 bedroom 1 bath or a 2 and 2, it's going to be around 3,000, and that comes from the 98,000 AMI. You divide that by 12, you're going to round somewhere around 8,200, and then you divide that by 3, you're going to round up about $2,900.
We
So
have,
the average rentals, yeah, it's about almost 3,000 right now.
Ooh,
geez Louise,
well,
we have Realtor Rick here telling us about renting and owning and how much things cost here on ING and LA. And we have more after this break.
Native Collective ain't just another club. Nah, it's a haven for everybody. Black, brown, native, transplant, old head, and young. We just want a place for minority entrepreneurs, creatives, executives, influencers, and entertainers to come together, connect, and most of all, thrive. We start in digital for now, but we'll soon expand to a physical location where we could chill if you need, grow if you want, celebrate your roots as much as you can while amplifying your success without limitations. Because it's all support over here. Our flagship location in LA will be a statement and become the spot for social events, inspiration, creativity, collaboration, and building together. Peep, don't miss your chance to be among the foundational members of Native Collective. Join our interest list today for an exclusive opportunity to enjoy early perks and benefits of membership. Visit our website at nativecollective.com to secure your spot in this groundbreaking movement.
hey guys, welcome back to episode 6 of Native LA's ING in LA, living in LA. So, we just got finished talking about the average cost of owning a home, about 850, versus the average cost of renting, which is about 3,000.
It's crazy.
Like, what? That's insane. So I actually ended up making a pros and cons list of each, Rich. So I'm going to go ahead and list some, and then I want your opinion as the professional here in the
Great.
situation, right? Okay, so for renting, some pros: lower monthly fees. I actually wrote that on here. Let's see. I have a management company to make free repairs. So like when my washing
Right.
machine goes out, my stove
Right.
goes out, I just call them and they come and fix it for me while I'm at work.
Got it.
It's a smaller space to manage, which for
Mm.
me is fine. I'm one person. I don't need 4,000 square feet to try to vacuum. And in my case, utilities are covered. So there's
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Cons, no privacy. No
Okay.
privacy whatsoever. I can't customize or change my space without sacrificing my security deposit.
Right.
And then, utilities may not be covered. So that's an extra expense on top of rent that you have to think about. Um, The owning side is less fruitful, but you do have privacy as a pro. You can customize it to your liking, and you own a house, which seems to be a thing that people like a feather in your cap there. Like I own a home.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right.
But in the cons list I wrote, you own a house. Repairs are costly and
They're
it's fully
yours.
out of your pocket. It's like a child that you gave birth to. Now it's your problem.
Right.
Renovations. I just
Up
wrote
to you.
renovations.
It's a word I learned recently. Renovations.
And
Yeah.
then property taxes.
Property taxes are real.
Mm-hmm,
They are
mm-hmm.
real.
So what would you add to those lists?
So let's start with the cons of renting.
Mm-hmm.
Want to go there? Okay.
Yeah.
The cons
Yes.
of renting are your monthly payment may go up, right? So luckily we do have some rent control measures in Los Angeles, but you cannot guarantee your job will give you a raise, right? When your rent is due to go up, that's that small percentage that LA says it can go up. That's one of the cons. You also do not have that good old equity, right? So yeah, so as a renter, it's someone else's home. You're paying someone else's mortgage, so they're living high on the hog. You get the space, and you get those. You might get some, pretty good incentives on your bills or lower bills. You might have a dog park and a pool, and you might have some awesome things. But well, depending on where you're renting at, right? The high rises and all that stuff. They're a little bit higher,
Yeah.
but that's an opportunity. So if you don't want your own yard, you don't want to buy your own yard, you can rent a space that has, a dog park or a pool or a jacuzzi or a gym. So those amenities are there for you, but you don't own them, right?
Right.
Or if you're renting a home, let's say I'm in Westchester. So if you're renting one of these homes for 2,500 or 3,000 a month, it's someone else's mortgage. You're helping someone else get closer to their goals, and you might be slowing yours down a little bit because you're paying someone else's mortgage instead of your own. Granted, 2,500 or 3,000 might not be the best uh, property here in Los Angeles. You may not want that, but the majority of homeowners now are, there's two people buying a property. So you have the opportunity to buy a condo and things like that to get lower payments and get some of those amenities. So that would be one of the cons is you don't get the equity. You're
Okay.
paying someone else's mortgage, and you're not going to be able to reap that benefit after whatever 10 years or 15 years. Yeah, paying someone else's bills, essentially. Um,
The American dream.
right, 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 right. But one of the pros of renting is flexibility. After 12 months, I can leave. I,
True.
I and I don't totally discourage renters. I have a lot of people moving to Los Angeles, and we know it's like the transplants and the transients that come. It's like, where do I want to live? Do I want to be in Hollywood? Do I want to be in Santa Monica, Inglewood, Carson, Long Beach? I encourage you, rent for a year, rent for 2 years. You don't know until you know, right? You don't
Right.
know, don't know. So you may move into that beautiful house in Culver City and be like, nope, not for me. I really want to be downtown for whatever it may be. So that's one of the pros for renting is I can get up and move when this day comes. I can go. If you have a house, you're probably in a higher payment, and you're in it. It's yours. Those bills are yours. That mortgage is yours. So I agree with those points. Those property taxes are real. It's about 1.25% in Los Angeles. So yeah, based on the price of your home, you're going to pay that twice a year. Roll that into your mortgage.
Damn.
So yeah, that's,
All your pockets getting hit.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why, real estate is location, 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 right? So if the $1.5 million house in Westchester is not for you, maybe the $650,000 condo is. So you have options. So it's not like I have to rent because I can only afford 4,000. Uh, talk to a realtor, talk to a lender, and figure out what your number is. And if your number's not good, you don't have to buy anything. No one's forcing you to. But it's definitely I see the upside. I have a son, I have a family, so I see the upside being able to pass that on, that equity, right? Your grandma, like, don't sell granny's house. Like, granny paid 40,000 for it, and now it's worth 1.2 million in some neighborhoods. So that's something that grandma and grandpa did for us, and we can do that for our grandchildren as well. Uh, Economy is totally different. I definitely understand that. I'm not negating. I'm not saying 1970 is the same as today. We know the numbers are different. It is much, much more expensive. But where there's a will, there's a way. Staying in Los Angeles is sometimes not the best. Some people move. You go to Long Beach, or you go to Carson, or you move further east. But you have that equity, and you're going to own that home, right? Versus renting in Santa Monica.
Right.
It's not your forever home if it's your first home. You can always upgrade. You sell that one 10 years later and maybe get something in a different neighborhood, or maybe you want to sell the condo and get a single family home because now you're married and you have a kid and a dog. So now you can upgrade from that one bedroom or that studio to that 2 bedroom or 3 bedroom in Inglewood that you kind of always wanted.
Okay. Just dropping gems all over the place today.
Now, I'm gonna hop in and say that I've learned something in the scope of this conversation, which is probably something a lot of people didn't know. I didn't know that you could reach out to realtors when you're renting. E mentioned earlier in the conversation that you helped her find her new spot, and yeah, I always thought that realtors were just people that you would reach out to if you were looking to buy a home. Whenever I'm looking for apartments, I'm usually talking to Brad Bellflower on apartments.com, or I'm
Right,
looking on
right,
Zillow.
right,
But I think what I'm learning in this conversation is that a realtor is going to be able to help you understand the market that you're looking for a place to live in,
correct.
and have some understanding of the neighborhoods that people are trying to move into. You find sometimes transplants move out here and they'll move to neighborhoods that they thought were it based off of what they saw on TV, and then realize that they're in Hollywood in a very unsavory part.
Right.
And with the differences between renting and owning, how both of them have their benefits and disadvantages, I wonder if it's okay to ask you a few questions about your experience with different kind of people and whether they're renting or owning based off of their particular situations. So,
Sure.
for example, let's say you have, actors and entertainers. Do they tend to rent or buy more? And are people who are here working in entertainment, should they qualify buying or renting? What would your recommendation be?
So the scope of an actor or an entertainer coming to Los Angeles, usually coming from out of state, most likely used to different budgets, not familiar with the neighborhoods, and their paychecks are a bit more inconsistent. So
Yeah.
they usually tend to rent because when you buy, you have to have that 2 year tax history making X amount, right, per year. They need to average that out and say this individual has proven he can make 200,000 a year, whatever it is. A lot of actors and entertainers, their money comes is a little bit inconsistent, but they can show deposits monthly, but their taxes may not be as high as they want them to be. Their income may not be as high as they want them to be based on the nature of the business, right? They're 1099 and they're net 90 and net 60 and waiting for paychecks. So they tend to rent more because most of them are entry level or mid tier because the ones that we know about, of course, they own homes. They're multimillionaires, and
Yeah.
if we see them every weekend on a TV show, our favorite show, they're most likely buying. But the entertainment industry is so vast. There's so many that are renting and rent have roommates, 2 or 3 roommates,
Hmm.
because the money and there's a strike now, so they're tending to rent more. And maybe going 2 or 3 people in one big house. We see all the time the entertainer houses. There's 5 or 6 individuals, but it's a really big house. But each of them is paying 2,000 a piece. You know what I mean? So I see them renting more than owning just because of the volatility of their work. And until they hit a certain point in their career and they can say, you know what, guaranteed I'm going to make $150,000 this year. My taxes show it. I'm consistent. We're not on strike and things are going well. Then they go ahead and get pre approved for that loan. But most of them are coming over, working odd jobs and door dashing, and being an actor is not always full time. You may be auditioning and not get the role, and you're back to door dashing because you still have your cell phone and your rent and your car note, or a family, to
Big
take care of,
facts. Big
right?
facts.
So they're still finding themselves renting. It's very, very hard, and especially in Los Angeles, because like I said, you need the 2 good years of taxes to qualify at a certain price point. So even if your taxes are done at a really good number, you may not qualify because of how volatile your work is. So, or you might get a higher interest rate based on your work because it is volatile.
So a word for actors and entertainment: you should rent until you can buy.
Yeah.
Definitely in this market will be the smartest option. How about individuals who right now LA Metro is trying. They're trying really hard to, during this expansion, they're addressing gentrification and the mass influx of people coming in. So they're expanding railways and bus services. What neighborhoods do you feel would be good for people who are looking to rent or own and still have some adjacency to public transportation?
So right now, if you're familiar with LA, the K line is brand new, running up
Yes.
and down Crenshaw Boulevard, and that runs in between two of the most prominent neighborhoods in Los Angeles, being Leimert Park and Baldwin Hills, Park Mesa Heights, and now
Yeah.
Inglewood, right? Because it comes right next to the SoFi. So you can get from the airport to downtown LA to see the Lakers, hop on the train and come back up to SoFi to see the Rams, and never get in an Uber or never get in any type of car. So those neighborhoods that are adjacent to the railway right now are the most popular. We're seeing a lot of growth in of course, Baldwin Hills is very, very popular, but Baldwin Hills, Park Mesa Heights is kind of growing right now. Leimert Park and Inglewood is just absolutely on fire.
Yes,
So,
sir. Yes,
yeah.
sir.
So yeah, Inglewood is and living here, you didn't think that 10 years ago, but the railways and the gentrification has really opened up the opportunity for people to come and visit. Maybe you're just coming to visit and you just want to see, you can see everybody play on the same day, possibly, depending on the time of the year. You can see the
Right.
Lakers and the Lakers and the Dodgers and the Rams will all be playing in September, October. So those things are really exciting, but that adds to traffic and things. So the railway and the public transportation is opening things up to a lot of neighborhoods that a lot of people didn't know about. So I'm getting people moving here from out of state looking to move to Leimert Park, where Leimert Park was kind of like our little hidden gem for
Right.
us, right? So we
Right.
grew up going to the Crenshaw Mall and taking the bus up and down Crenshaw, and now there's a train that runs up and down Crenshaw. So those neighborhoods that are along that new railway are very, very popular because you may not be able to afford to live in Santa Monica or maybe a Mar Vista, but you can take the railway on Jefferson all the way to the ocean now. So that's opening up a lot of possibilities for people, so they do not have to specifically live and deal with traffic in some of these neighborhoods.
100%. I really do appreciate that you shouted out the Leimert Park area and how that K line's coming through. I was there during the opening ceremony when they were announcing everything and the art that they have in the area and the level of them trying to include a neighborhood that has been for a very long time kind of away from the rails and away from being connected to everything. USC's expansion and has really helped that area and seeing that people are coming to live there. On one hand, you got your gentrification, but you do see an area that's getting a lot more love than it has gotten in a while. And seeing a rail going down Crenshaw is, for us natives, that's a
Wild.
that's almost like seeing the space shuttle go down the street. You're right. What about new parents and new families? I know that uh grandma buying a house back in the day may have looked different than a millennial buying a house, and
Right.
home ownership is something that a lot of people our age find to be outside of our grasp. But what do you see, especially with this economy, new parents and new families, are they renting, are they owning, and for both, which neighborhoods are they settling in?
A little bit of both, and it comes down to kind of lines of work. So right now we have Silicon Beach, right? So but adjacent to that we have Culver City, we have Mar Vista, we have Palms. We're seeing a lot of millennial parents, a lot of younger parents moving to these homes for lot sizes. They want backyards. They want places for a dog. They
Hmm.
want a nice two-car garage. So they're not really drawn to downtown LA, or they're coming to Inglewood too. They're coming to Crenshaw Manor, which is right between Crenshaw and Exposition and Buckingham. So they're moving to these neighborhoods with these lot sizes that are around 5,000 square feet, maybe a 15 to 1,800 square foot home, but they have a backyard and they can walk their dog and they can walk with their family and not have to deal with a lot of traffic. So we're seeing Lamert Park, we're seeing Inglewood, Culver City. Um, to some extent, if you can afford it, people are coming to Westchester. Moving from out of state, coming straight to Westchester, where it's 1.6 to move here. So this depends on kind of your job and where you're at in your career. Or the millennials, we're kind of mid-level managers now. We're 35, 36, 37. So we're not really in our entry level jobs anymore. So
Right.
that's affording people the opportunity to move in some of these other neighborhoods that we kind of just saw driving by. You don't have to be in a certain neighborhood anymore. You can kind of bounce around. If you're in the 850 to 1.1 range, there's quite a few areas that are very attractive. Or you can go to Long Beach, you can go to Carson. There's opportunities if you're willing to, if you're working from home, or if you don't want to deal with the traffic, or you want to use the public transportation. Long Beach is not far fetched. People have no problem moving to Long Beach because that's a,
Well, most
a
people.
beach city. You know what I mean? It's a beach city. It's right off the 405 or the 710, and you can get right back to LA if you need to.
Rich, I'm gonna slide in for a second. You may have noticed a little bit of a smirk and a smiling going on. I recently left LA proper for Long
Right,
Beach
right.
for the very same.
You left Lamert.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I,
real specific, bro.
I did, and it's just good to hear somebody speak to the inherent benefits
no, yeah,
of LA's bastard city.
yeah.
Um,
You get a little
but
bit more bang for your buck in Long Beach, man. It's real.
For sure, for sure.
It's real.
many blessings. Thank you for saying that, sir. I do have some. I've been noticing neighborhoods that you've been mentioning are all south and west of downtown. Any insight for the areas that are a little bit north, NPR land, Echo Park
Right,
and
right.
Glassell Park and all that? Are you seeing any motion in that area, or are we already priced out? That's just
Off
No,
the table.
actually, you're gonna get some pretty good prices. If you're up in the Hollywood Hills, right, it's gonna be a bit more expensive. But we're seeing the Highland Parks, the Glassell Parks.
yeah,
We're seeing them, the Silver Lakes, the Echo Parks. There's a bit more traffic there because the West Side is very expensive. So if I have 1.1, I might not be able to get into the best school district on the West Side, or I might not be able to get into Culver City or a Brentwood or a Manhattan Beach. You might be able to get into a Culver City, but
mm,
that money goes a bit further. Just like Long Beach, it can go a bit further once you get northeast. The prices are a bit more attainable there because you're not on the ocean anymore. So we are seeing, but that's also the home of the entertainers that we talked about, right? So the
hmm
actors,
Right.
the writers, the directors, they're coming. That's home. Studio City, Northeast LA, downtown, uh, Silver Lake, Echo Park. A lot of people are calling that home because they work in Studio City or possibly live in Sherman Oaks, Burbank.
yes.
Yeah, so it might be a little bit warmer up there, but people are moving there because there's a little bit more opportunity, a little bit more square footage because the West Side is very, very dense and very, very populated.
We got a lot of people who move out here from out of state or out of country, maybe even out of LA, and they typically go for the West Side. But what are you seeing people who are not natives? What are you seeing transplants typically going towards? Are they renting more? Or are they looking to buy?
They're renting more. They're
Renting.
renting more. They're renting more. They're going to the valleys. They're going to the Burbanks, the North Hollywoods. Downtown is very popular for individuals. Just yeah, because well, if you look on social media, you see the high rises, you see the lights, the Lakers, Kobe. It's its own city. LA Live has its own little heartbeat, and the prices are a bit more attainable there. Getting off the plane and moving straight to Mar Vista is tough,
Good.
right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, getting off the plane and moving straight to Santa Monica is tough. You might have a smaller spot. You can get one. It'll be smaller, but you can go a little bit further east, K Town. You can get a nice view. You can see some buildings, but you're getting a little bit more bang for your buck. That's about it. But they're moving more so to the Valley, Northeast LA.
And I'm going to circle back to the beaches. A lot of people who move out here, even people who live here, at some point you have this California dream or this LA dream where you're living close to the beach.
Mhm.
What beach neighborhoods are you seeing people looking to rent or own? Considering that living close to the beach is sometimes can feel very expensive. Where do you see people moving who want to be beach adjacent?
Santa Monica is the pinnacle.
Yeah.
this day, Santa Monica is. I read about it. I heard about it. I know the pier. I know the promenade. Before you get here, you're on YouTube. You're looking up neighborhoods. You cannot miss Santa Monica. Everyone wants to be a part of Santa Monica or Venice, right? The ones that are getting more popular now are the South Bay beach cities. So now you have Torrance, Hermosa's, Redondo's, Manhattan, of course, is Manhattan. But we're seeing a lot more people trying to get to the South Bay because it's not as expensive as Santa Monica. Santa Monica is so populated, the amount of offers and the amount of people there just brings the prices up. But that's happening now in a Torrance, right, which is kind of a beach city, Redondo Beach, where the condos, but you might get a view of the ocean. So those beach cities are kind of coming up and on the rise. Of course, Malibu is Malibu, Santa Monica is Santa Monica, but the beach adjacent cities. So if you're in Marina Del Rey, or Del Rey, which is technically Culver City. If you're at Playa Vista, right across Jefferson, is Del Rey, the 90066 area code. So that's very popular now because you're not on the ocean, but you're not on the other side, way on the other side of the 405. You're right there in the middle of everything. You get to Playa Vista, Westchester, and LAX. So those neighborhoods are getting very, very popular right now.
The man knows his stuff. He knows his stuff.
So we're going
I
to go ahead
tried,
and take
man.
a
I tried.
quick break. I'm going to go count my coins and see if I can afford anything that Rich has been talking about. We'll be right back. Hey guys, we're back and we are getting ready to play a rapid fire game with our friend Rich today, where we are going to list some personality types and he's going to tell us where he thinks the best place for them to live is.
Cool.
Tony?
All right, so peep game. I'm gonna let you know where they're renting, and you're
Okay.
gonna tell me where you think that they should buy.
Okay, we can do that.
All right, here we go. So you got an artsy type who's renting in downtown right now, looking to buy.
They're buying in Silver Lake.
Okay.
Ding, ding,
It makes sense. It actually makes sense. Okay. A young professional who's currently renting in K-Town.
Santa Monica.
That tracks. Okay. An actor who just became a series regular, who's currently renting in Hollywood.
Studio City.
This man don't miss. Okay. All right. A same-sex couple who's renting in WeHo.
They might just buy in WeHo.
Trick question.
All right. A surf and beach enthusiast who's like tired of couch surfing and he's got to the point where he can buy his own home, where you see him buying a home to be by the beach.
He's going to Redondo first.
Mm-hmm. Where do you see tech job Johnny living?
Playa Vista.
Thrift store Jane.
Thrift store Jane. Culver City.
An LA native who moved to Long Beach for some reason.
You see him staying right the fuck where he at.
He got out of LA.
Oh man, no, this is good. But I like playing that game with you. It really does quickly speak to how you're able to identify personalities and where they would likely live here in Los Angeles. And maybe we could talk about best and worst things about living in certain neighborhoods. Now, I'm going to mirror what E did earlier, because she had some pros and cons about renting versus buying and was totally wrong on some of them. And I'm also not afraid to be wrong. So I'm going to tell you what it is that I thought, and you can hit me with the real. Okay. So we're going to start up top at the Valley. So I'm thinking that the Valley is cheaper. There's a lot more parking, that it's a little bit more walkable than some other neighborhoods. And you have your pockets of wealth and you have your pockets of art with the NoHo Arts area, but it is a lot hotter because there's no water. It's further from the city, and you do have crime and homelessness. What would you say to living in the Valley?
Definitely hotter. Number one, hotter. But you do have probably a bigger home. Commute time. Where do you work? Where do you play? Where are your friends at? Are your friends coming from Inglewood to Reseda? Right?
Oh no. Hell no, we not.
So with the good of the larger lot size and probably a little bit cheaper home, it's the community. the school districts. If you're a family person, that's very, very important to a lot of families. Even if you're single, the school district will dictate kind of what happens outside of your home when you're not home. Is the school district good? Is the school district bad? What's the funding like? What is the city council like? All those things, come into play.
Okay. Okay. Um, how about the West Side? And now for me, I'm thinking it's proximity to the beach, has a decent pop in nightlife. You do have a lot of jobs on the West Side. Great, great shopping, and it's a good mixture, melting pot. A little bit of everybody's living over there, but it can be pricey because it's super popular, like you mentioned earlier, and it's an area that's rapidly gentrifying. What would you say to living on the West Side?
The West Side, it's the lifestyle. So West Side is the LA lifestyle, the Wilshire corridor, Brentwood, Santa Monica. It's what you see on TV. It's why a lot of people come here. The downside is the price, right? It's the most expensive parts of Los Angeles are on the West Side. So that would be the downside, and the amount of red lights and traffic just to get from your house, your neighborhood to downtown, right? Going up Wilshire is not as easy as east and west. You have to kind of go up a little north and then
Yeah.
kind of get east. So the commute time based on where you live, but definitely the pricing, the density, and some parking too. Don't get me wrong, parking's bad on the west side too. If you're
Yeah.
in the wrong part of, if you're in the wrong part of like a Mar Vista, or if you're over in a Westwood Century City, it gets tough.
Yeah.
He right. He right. All right. How about good old South LA? So I do agree that it's culture rich. That it's, the black epicenter of Los Angeles. We're getting that USC money in the area. We're getting that Metro money in the area. But also it can feel like people are being priced out because of
Right.
gentrification. And it still has its issues with crime, violence, and homelessness. What would you say to renting and owning in South LA?
Central, you're in the middle of everything. You're 15, maybe 20 minutes away from the beach, but you can also get to the 110. You have a little bit more room. You're not kind of cramped unless you're in some parts of Inglewood where it gets pretty dense. But a lot of Lamar Park, Jefferson Park, even though there's a lot of homes on those streets, you still have a little bit of a backyard. You have a front yard. You have a gate. You can invite friends over that can park on your street, but you can still, hop on Adams and go hang out at Alta Adams if you want. And you can get to those neighborhoods on the west side to hang out. You're doing most of your shopping, probably more so further west than east. So you're going to have some decent shopping options. So that's very, very important for families. Like, what grocery store are you going to go to? Where's your Target?
Hmm.
Where's your Trader Joe's? What's that like just running to get a stick of deodorant, right? So
Yeah.
those things definitely come into play. Just like you said, some of the crime and the homelessness that happens, but it is the black epicenter. Like, no one's complaining in Baldwin Hills, View Park, Windsor Hills. No one's, it's beautiful. Large lots, views, rolling hills, greenery, palm trees, snowfall.
Show you right. Show you right. How about the gateway and harbor cities? For me, I believe it to be a melting pot. You have a little bit of everybody settling there. Very family oriented neighborhoods, wide streets, and what have you. A lot of blue collar jobs, a lot of factories and other types of industry out there due to the large industrial buildings that are there. And surprisingly, like restaurants and foodie culture, like in the
Mhm.
Gardena and Torrance area, like going up. Um, but some people, and me included, I spend a lot of time in Compton and Carson. There's a lot of pollution. A lot of people don't think about in conjunction with
Refineries.
those refineries and the industries that are there. And you could argue that some of the infrastructure is old, roads, and it doesn't get that same revitalization that areas that trains touch would get. But what would you speak to on people moving, renting, and owning in the gateway and harbor cities?
Uh, so you have In and Out, you have the 110 freeway. That's very, very valuable to getting to kind of wherever you need, north or south. You can get right on the Vincent Thomas, get over to Long Beach. Um, but if you're kind of like in a Palos Verdes, Rolling Hills, San Pedro, your friends might not come visit you, right?
Hmm.
So that's a little bit of a con, but it is, it's a blue collar, it is a melting pot, it is, home of the harbors, Long Beach, San Pedro, but a little bit more affordable. So that's a pro. I'll take that. The bigger streets, I'll take that.
Hmm.
And just proximity, you still get really, really good weather because you kind of have that coastal breeze coming through San Pedro and a little bit over through the hills, rolling hills and things like that. So I love that area. It's slow and it's quiet. You know what I mean? Yeah, and it's cool. But then you have the pollution, right? So if you're willing to, add that to a part of your lifestyle, it's a great place to live, especially Long Beach.
Mm, man, thank you. What about like Northeast LA? I call it NPR land. I made a comment in an earlier podcast that a lot of people who transplant out here, they move to areas that NPR is likely to have a pop up at.
Yeah,
And you think about your Echo Parks and your Highland Parks and whatnot. You do get hipstery vibes there. And it is close to the city center when you think about it just being kind of like on the opposite side of where South LA is.
right.
But that's an area that's experiencing a huge demographic shift as far as who formulated that area and who started living there versus who's being priced out. But you can't deny that it does have some very beautiful areas, and homeownership there is chef's kiss. What would you speak about renting and owning in the NPR land, Northeast LA?
It's about 10 degrees warmer. Get used to that. 10 to 15 degrees warmer.
Mm.
Um, but you're probably, if you go further north, the Pasadenas, the Glendales, the Arcadias, you're going to get a little bit more lot, right? You're going to get a little bit more serenity. It's just going to be warmer. But you can get to Dodger Stadium. You can get to downtown LA. You can
Hmm.
get to those gateways, the 5 freeway, the 101, the 110. They're all right there if you need to get in and out of somewhere. So you're not kind of landlocked like you were in, the opposite, like in the Palos Verdes, where you're up in the hill and no one can get to you. You can go up in the hill that way, and you have access to all the freeways and kind of studio cities, the Sherman Oaks, and if you need to get to the valley, you can get on the 101. So
Hmm.
that's one of the and food. There's great food up there. If you're a foodie, if you're artsy and a foodie, go to
Yeah.
Northeast LA. Yeah,
Mm. And we're going to round it out with this last neighborhood, East LA. This is an area that's very culture rich. If we have a black epicenter, people would definitely say that East LA would be the Latino epicenter of Los
please.
Angeles, and a lot more connectivity because of Metro going through there. That gold line that went through there definitely connected everything. But we are still experiencing crime and violence in that area, as well as a degree of we don't want outsiders here. What would you speak to East LA? How would you speak on that from a realtor standpoint?
East LA would be an opportunity to invest because of the dense population. So if you can get your hands on a duplex or a triplex, right? So not only just home ownership, investing, that's a good place because the rents will always be there, the people will always be there. The price points are a bit lower, so you can afford to get in. Great Hispanic food. If you like food trucks, if you want to experience that whole thing and save a couple dollars, yeah.
I have
But
lost it
like you
for a
said,
second.
a lot of them, yeah. But a lot of they're not. They're a lot of people. They want us. Like they're not welcome to all the outsiders of LA. They've kind of made their own community, and East LA it has its own identity. You know, what I mean, the lowriders, the food, just it's its own unique thing that's very very special to LA and unique. So that it's history. You know, East LA is
Yeah.
very very historic. So if you can get a piece of history and probably get an investment property or find a neighborhood that is open and welcoming to the type of lifestyle you want to live, yeah, East LA is a great place to live.
Would you? We've touched on all these different neighborhoods a few neighborhoods that make up LA, and different neighborhoods and different areas. Do you feel like living in LA or the LA experience? Do you find this to be cost the worth of living, whether you're renting or owning? Knowing that we're paying more than most people just for the area that we live, would you say as a realtor that it's worth it?
Yes, uh, but I value what LA has to offer, right? So if you don't value what LA has to offer, it won't be worth it to you. I need to be outside in the sun. I need to be very, very close to the water at all times. I've lived in Hawaii, Virginia, Florida, Texas, England. I've lived I've lived in all these different places, and I still came back home once I got out the military because I never got the feeling of driving through the Hollywood Hills or
Mm,
just kind of, the late night, even if you're coming down from Northridge on the 405 at night, it's just this serenity. It's this feeling of driving through Bel Air past the Getty, coming over and kind of seeing those lights.
Yeah.
That lifestyle to me, that's what I want. I want to be able to just step outside of my house a couple feet and get to a Target or a CVS or something I need or some food. Um, versus when I was in Virginia, I had to drive 20 or 30 minutes to a decent food place. So the convenience of kind of having everything you need in every single neighborhood, no matter where you live, you kind of have your little pocket. You have your own
mm.
little people that you hang out where you live, work, and play. And the beaches and the water and the lifestyle. I cycle. I'm on the bike path 3 times a week. So it's like, to me, it's worth it, right? So if you
Yeah.
do not value those things, then you're going to say it's too expensive and you're going to leave and you're never going to come back. But
Man,
if it's
I'm
worth
over
it,
here. I'm over here smiling because here's a native. Air Force Richton told us everywhere he done lived and everywhere he went, and he's sitting there saying there's nothing like being in LA.
That's
Do
what I
you feel
thought.
like people who live here are they? Do you feel like they're taking advantage? People who come here, people who even live here, do you think that they're taking advantage of everything that this great city, this great county has to offer?
I think people, I think LA is underappreciated, man. I think people are not taking advantage of it. I think people, depending on where you grew up, like if you didn't grow up in Westchester, you might not come over here to hang out. You might not
Mm.
come to the Bristol Farms, or you might not go to this Trader Joe's. Uh, but it's there and it's right next to the freeway. You go to Bar Melody, you know what I mean? So I feel like a lot of people don't take advantage of the free fun we have here. There's so
Right.
much opportunity to just sit around, find a nice park, get your dog in a picnic basket, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, and just be outside on a 73-degree day for free and have the time of your life. So I think it's kind of, a lot of people don't leave the neighborhood where they grew up. They don't experience the beach life. They think it's not for them or the lifestyle that they live, and they're missing out on a lot of fun and a lot of opportunities, a lot of networking, depending on what you do for work. There's endless opportunities. You just have to kind of go out there and get them.
Now, you mentioned people not leaving, but as a realtor, have you kind of noticed that there's been a mass exodus? Like the media has been kind of telling us more and more people are moving out of LA to places like Houston or Colorado. What kind of trends are you seeing as far as that goes?
I get more people coming in than leaving. So when we look at these numbers, they usually do California's numbers, right? And they give you this huge number of 400,000 people, but there's
Hmm.
40 million people here. So so if 400,000 people leave, you know what I mean? That's not even a dent. That doesn't help the 405. And this is Los Angeles. If you go to it doesn't it's like it doesn't I don't feel like 400,000 people left this state, but you have to think how huge San Francisco is. So when they say California, San Francisco, that that's more expensive than LA in a lot of places in the Bay. So a lot of those numbers are from the Bay. But the Los Angeles numbers, we do see a lot of people going to Texas, Florida, but that's kind of always been, right? That's not new. People moving east, that's kind of always been, but it is a bit more amplified now. But if you think about it, less than a half percent leaves the state, no one feels it. They also don't report the numbers of the people coming here.
Right,
So so if you measure it out, we probably netted maybe 100,000. It's
right.
not as massive as the media can make it seem, and everyone's leaving, because I can tell you right now, there's a whole lot of people coming next year and the year after, and they're planning. So while people do leave, they've always been leaving. It might be a small percentage more now, but we're still packed.
And how does that kind of influx of transplants and the rise of places like Silicon Beach, how does that kind of affect the affordability of housing pretty much across Los Angeles altogether as a whole?
Yeah, so the population went down, but the home prices went up, right? So more people are coming with more money buying more expensive properties. So 10 people leave, one person comes, and the prices of the houses went up. So we're not really seeing that reflect in the housing market, because this is gold. Like people want to be here no matter what it's for. You want to come here to act, to sing, to direct, to entertain, to play a banjo, to surf, whatever it may be. We still have a lot of people moving here that really want to be here, and the prices of homes aren't getting cheaper. If anyone wants to look it up, I don't think it's ever gone down in about the last 30 years. Maybe year over year it's gone down a percentage, but it's
Right.
up. It's homes aren't getting cheaper in LA. Uh, so that's the supply and that's the demand, right? That if everyone was leaving and everyone was selling their house, there'd be a bunch of houses for sale, but there's not. So we're
Right.
sitting here going through, bidding wars, 12, 13 families trying to get the 2-bedroom condo in Redondo Beach for 800,000, and it goes for 80,000 over asking price. That's not because there's not enough people here to buy it.
Right. We've got that down
Yeah,
on lock.
yeah.
Now, of these people buying these homes, do you see a lot of people buying them for themselves, or do you see a lot of people trying to buy homes for investing purposes?
So there is the investor market. The cash investor, is real. We mentioned some of these areas, such as East LA and South LA. We're seeing people come in and a house is for sale for 650 and they offer a 600 or something like that cash, right? Because they're looking to get that rental income. They're looking to renovate or turn that home. Now you can turn a single family home or a single family lot into a multifamily lot, and so you can turn one house into 3 or 4 houses. So that is definitely huge because the rents are tried and true. The demand is so high when you buy the house and it pencils out, right? You're not going to go upside down on your loan or how much you invest. But if it pencils out, people are coming to buy the 2 units and the 3 units or the single family home and tear it down and build a duplex. We do have a housing issue. So there are people out there that are saying, okay, I can buy one and build 4, right?
Right.
So they do benefit, but the city benefits as well because we need more homes.
Interest rates are kind of high right now. Can people even afford to invest?
You can afford to invest if your job pays you enough. So it's subjective. Yes, if you have the money saved up, if you can put a little bit more down, and it has to pencil out. It's tough, but it has to pencil out. We're seeing people go east. We're seeing people go to Lancaster. We're seeing people go to the Valley because the interest rate is high, so I can get a little bit cheaper home. So the interest rate doesn't affect me as much. So I'm closer on my balance sheet. I can break even possibly or make a couple dollars in the short term. Whereas, if you go to the South or somewhere, you might get an instant return first month, right? In Los Angeles, it might take you a couple years to get a return, but you're going to get the return and you're going to hold. So it's not a stock, right? We're not trading
Right.
real estate. I'm holding this for 10, 15 years because I'm going to put this money up and it's going to pay for itself over the long term.
Is this a
It's tough though.
good time to invest?
I believe, yeah, the best time to invest is always yesterday.
Mm,
So where we live specifically, I'm speaking for Los Angeles, right?
right.
Like I said, we spoke earlier about the people leaving. The property is not getting cheaper. So every day you're losing $1, right?
Gotcha.
So the sooner the better. I don't know you hear realtors say that all the time, but it's true. Had you bought that house last year, go look at the equity you would have gained in 12 months. So
Yeah.
it's always sooner than later. But I understand it is very, very difficult with the interest rate. It's pushing people out of Los Angeles. It's pushing
Mhm.
people out of the state, um, and it's been doing that for a while. But if you can, I encourage those to do so. Or maybe it's an LLC with you and a partner. You put up 20 grand, he puts up 20 grand. Now you have an LLC. You can go in on a property together, right? And someone lives in it. You leverage an FHA loan where you only have to put 3.5% down on $1 million home. It's 35 grand plus your
Wow.
closing costs. So you're 50 grand all in, but you can buy a duplex and live in one of the units until that time comes where you can renovate it, rent out the back house, break even, then eventually get to cash flowing.
Very cool. Very cool. You're just, man, just full of all this golden information for not just myself and Tony, but for everybody watching this. Man, if anyone
Thank you.
ever had any questions about real estate investing, I'm hoping that they watch this episode because, man, this is good. This
Most
is really good.
millionaires, come from real estate.
Wow. Okay. Did not know that.
Yeah,
Did not know that.
insurance and real estate. But yeah.
Do you have any other solid advice for anyone who is thinking about investing in real estate?
Talk to your lender now. Understand that purchasing is more than likely a 12 to 24 month runway, right? So you may not be ready today, but you need to prepare yourself, get your financials in order, get your taxes in order, get your credit and your debt under control. So when the time comes, you say, hey, I want this property now. I got my job, I got my raise, I got married, whatever it may be, everything's squared away. You can speak to the lender and you don't have to wait another 12 months because your taxes weren't filed correctly, right? So speak to a CPA, speak to a lender, and speak to a realtor and start that runway. So when the time comes and you're ready to pull the trigger, you already know where you stand and you can just make it happen and you don't have to sit on the sideline because you didn't know something that you didn't know.
So start yesterday, people. Yesterday.
Please, please, please.
How many offers are properties getting now?
On the west side, it's a bit more competitive, right? So I had a client lose a property and there was 13 other offers.
Ooh.
And we were in consideration, but there were 5 above hers, and we missed out on the home. So the homes, if you're looking in the 1.2 and below, it's very, very competitive. Most of Los Angeles is trying to buy between 750 and 1.2. That's very, very competitive right now. So you can see up to 20, depending on the neighborhood, depending on the condition of the property. But the further west, a bit more competitive. We're seeing Inglewood get very, very popular. Multiple offers in Inglewood now because of what it's going to be with the train, the Olympics, and this and everything. So yeah, we're seeing anywhere to 3 to 10 offers, really.
I've been hearing that that the city I was born in, Compton, is a good place for first time home buyers. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, Compton is. There's a lot of attention put in Compton now because of its rich history. Right, Compton is a beautiful, beautiful, amazing city. Most of us from here know how amazing and beautiful Compton is when you drive through the streets and see these large ranch homes, the value that's there. But it's also one of those neighborhoods that has not been cities that has not been gentrified all the way yet. I'd give it another 5 years, but it's on its way. You're looking at a turnkey remodel right now for about 750. You know what I mean? 2 years ago, it was maybe 550. So it's
Damn.
growing. Yeah, it's growing rapidly. It's happening fast, but you can get a really, really nice home for 700,000 in Compton. So if that fits your lifestyle and it's a good neighborhood for you and you feel the demographics and the school districts and all those other things that make your home a home fit you, I would definitely have someone take a look at Compton because there's value there. And we always know it's look at Inglewood. No one thought, and now it
Yeah.
is. So the same is going to happen with Compton. It's just a matter of time.
So it's more
Mm.
about buying potential
Yeah.
than anything.
If like I said, if you're in the price range now, if you're in the 1.5 and up, just pick whatever you want to do, right? So if you're at 1.7, if your lender approves you for 1.8, you can pretty much buy a house anywhere you want, besides like maybe a Manhattan Beach. You can even get in Palos Verdes for about 1.5. So Malibu might be off the table for you, but if you have 1.2 to 1.3, you can get anywhere in South LA really. If you want a condo, it's even more affordable. So we're at 750 to 8 for a really, really nice 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom condo in a really great neighborhood. So it's kind of, what's your vibe? What are you looking for? Do you want to pay an HOA? Do you need a backyard for your dogs? So depending on your lifestyle and where you work and where you play, that's going to dictate where you're going to buy.
Damn, Rich. Well, listen, me and E got to go count our Crown
Can
Royal
you?
bag full of full of quarters. But please tell people where they could find you, because we're learning today that realtors are a wealth of information, and we want to plug you specifically because I didn't learned a lot today. Where can they find you on the socials?
My Instagram is rich underscore in real estate, all one word. And my TikTok is rich in real estate, one word. And I have a YouTube, which is Discovering Los Angeles, Richie Nickelberry with my name at the end.
Ooh, that's another ing discovering, right?
There it is, Discovering Los Angeles. Yes, sir.
Yes, yes. Hey,
Thank you
Rich.
so much for this
Yes.
illuminating conversation. I have learned
Thank you.
so much. Who knew? Who knew you knew so much?
It's like you could live here but not really know. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
not really know. But we're
Yeah.
happy to have you here. This has been episode 6 of ING in LA, where we talked about living in LA. I'm Tony, hailing from Compton, California, and
I'm E from Inglewood.
all right, thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.
All right.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Hey y'all, it's your girl E from Inglewood, back with another episode of Native LA's ING in LA, where we discuss all things. Messed that up. Okay, let me try that again. I look like I'm in jail. I look like they gave me like an hour
To
because I was
record a
on my
podcast,
best behavior. Yes.
you got to get back to the chow hall.
Fuck. Sorry. It's totally my bad. Oh, yeah. It's fine because like no one sees you. You can put an emoji over it. Put the logo over it. I don't know.
The logo would be dope.
Where we discuss doing all things in and around Los Angeles. With me today is
Then you was
I was so
almost there.
I almost. Yes, I have this on up here, but like but down here, it's still like my prison garb. Still got the orange jumpsuit on from the waist down. Exactly. I'm out here doing things, but I got to get back to making license plate and commissary. So
You
Come on, Steno. Notebooks.
gotta go reorganize the library, you guys. Come on.
That's funny.
Orange is the new black ass nigga.
Right.